2 dias antes do lançamento oficial do Remix Pandaria, eu tive a oportunidade de conversar com 2 devs que foram um dos responsáveis pelo lançamento desse novo modo de jogo. A entrevista está toda legendada em português, então se curtirem esse vídeo, não deixe de mandar também um comentário sobre a opinião de vocês.
Sure, we could do an introduction real
Okay.
quick. So my name is Brian Dowling. I'm a senior designer on the WoW team, and most recently I was the feature leader for WoW Remix.
Hey, I'm Ciji Bambrick. I'm a senior test analyst on the World of Warcraft team and working with Brian on the remix content.
Awesome. Thank you so much to have me here. I'm Thiago, as Nico mentioned. So I'm content creator for WoW, I don't know, maybe almost 6 years now. But I'm a WoW player for more than 16 years. So yeah, so I'm very excited to talk about World of Warcraft Remix, right? So I have some questions. Of course, I think we'll not be able to cover all of them. So be my guest to say slow down a little bit, but I have a lot of questions to share with you guys. So if I may start, the first question that I like to talk about is WoW Remix designed to cater the active players, new players, or returning veteran players? Who is the target audience that you guys are aiming right now?
Yeah, so our primary audience for WoW Remix are existing and returning players. When we were looking at the different gameplay systems of WoW Remix, which is like, taking existing content and changing it up through new gameplay systems, we thought that, the primary audience for that is going to be like players who are familiar with World of Warcraft and are looking for something a little bit different. But that being said, since everyone's going to start at level 10, like globally on May 16th, that it's actually a cool opportunity for maybe people to invite their friends to come level up with them. And all the new gameplay and all the new systems and story does like start from the beginning, and people have a chance to kind of digest things as they're getting through the introduction. So there is an opportunity for new players to also jump into WoW Remix. And if they're coming with a friend, all the better. But yeah, our primary audience was existing and returning players.
Cool.
And it's also available to Starter Edition too. So if you have a starter account and you're brand new to WoW, it's also welcoming. You can join in and play up to level 20 on a starter as well.
Yeah, there's no.
I was not aware about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. With the subscription, you actually can go all the way up to level 70. No other like purchases necessary.
Well, that's awesome, and thank you for the answers. So the second question is, why Pandaria? I'm not complaining because I love it, but why specifically Pandaria? And regarding this, is a specific chosen for a reason? I don't know. It's something related to the lore. There is a connection for, I don't know, the warrior thing or not. Why Pandaria?
Yeah, so Miss Pandaria, there's kind of a few reasons that we decided to do a WoW remix for Miss Pandaria. First, we know it's a beloved expansion. Like, it's one of the fan favorites, it's one of our favorites, and so that was the kind of obvious first reason. Next, when we were thinking about like the different features that we were adding for remix, so that's like the all the infinite progression and all the spell gems and content that's available all the way from like level 10 to 70 that will scale with you. We were looking for like, okay, what's an expansion that a lot of this stuff will feel a little bit different, a little fresh, as an additional way to play the game compared to Dragonflight. And so like it has like the older style raid lockouts, and it has the different style daily content. It has the scenarios, so like all 15 scenarios from Miss Pandaria, including the heroic ones, are going to be available. So we thought like, okay, there's a ton of content. Players, it might have been a decade since players have been able to experience this stuff, so it's going to have that kind of like fresh feel, and it's different enough. And then finally, when we were looking at, okay, we know we want players to be able to dragon ride from level 10. Right after the intro, you're going to be able to dragon ride. And so Pandaria is this like wide open landmass that is super fun to fly over. And, taking all those things combined and like in our discussions, that's ultimately why we decided Mists. And yeah, that was our reasoning there.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Thank you. The third question is, can we expect more remix in the future? Filtering, I don't know, other expansions, or this is a one-time event? I don't know, it's only for Pandaria to test, or you guys are planning to have more expansions like this, or maybe this could be the new time walking in the future or something like that?
So WoW Remix is not intended to replace time walking. We think time walking is really cool.
Okay.
We think Chromie time is really cool. This is just like another offering, and kind of how the WoW team has been doing different experiments lately. Trying different things, seeing what players like really like. We're listening to feedback on what exactly players are like. Yeah, that's awesome. There aren't any specific plans to announce about like future remixes or other experiments like that, but whenever we're deciding to do anything, player feedback is just like a huge voice in the room, because we want to marry like stuff that we're excited to build with things that we think players are also going to be really excited to play. And so through all of this kind of like cool experiments that we've been doing, towards the end of Dragonflight, we'll be listening to player feedback on like, do you think this is cool? Do you want to see, more things, similar things? And so definitely people should give us their feedback, including you and all your audience.
Cool, that's awesome, and great kudos for you guys, because it's even more, somehow we can not only see but feel how your team is right now is hearing us and contacting more often with us, and great shout out for you guys here, because it's helping us a lot with my audience and as a player, of course, because it's easier now to understand the plans and the future of the game, right? So the one thing I'd like to point here. And the next question, if I may, was the decision to launch the WoW Remix during the Season 4 intent to offer players either option, or was it designed to be something that could be done currently? Quick example. If a player complete, I don't know, the dungeons, the raids, and so on in Dragonflight, then go ahead and start to do the time walking, or is something that we should do one of them or something like that? Because one of the things that I heard from my audience very often is that, oh, I have to do mythics or raids because somehow the game is pushing me to do that, right? So when you guys are doing the WoW Remix, you think about maybe you work with both audience or something split.
Yeah, so WoW Remix was built to be very flexible to however much time players wanted to spend with it. If you're having a great time with Season 4, or if you're having a great time with Season of Discovery or Cataclysm, then WoW Remix is a cool additional type of Warcraft that you can just drop in. So for example, if you're done with your weekly raids, pop in. So for Remix, all of our raids are either for LFR, they have no lockout, or they have a daily lockout. So you can kind of like really easily join up with a bunch of different groups, or play to fill in whatever your normal WoW schedule is. That being said, WoW Remix has a ton of content, right? Like it's all of the Mists of Pandaria content. Like that's all the scenarios, quests, dungeons, raids, multiple
the entire
difficulties.
Expansion, right?
Yeah, it's huge. Like there's a ton that like if you really want to play some World of Warcraft, like Remix has got something for you, and like the gameplay is going to feel really different. So like players having that flexibility to decide like how much they want to play, and to be able to like jump in. Like if you only have a half hour, an hour on a weekend, you want to jump in, earn some bronze to be able to potentially buy some rewards with that currency, or get some power for your cloak. Like it's very easy to do so. Like the barrier for jumping in and out is very low. So yeah, like it's meant to be either a supplement if you're happy, adding it onto your existing WoW regiment, or if you want it to be like kind of your primary activity. And yeah, and we want players to be able to do that.
Cool.
Yeah,
and let's be honest. Oh, well, I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no worries. What I was gonna say is we also have an achievement system built out for Remix where it kind of categorizes all the different kinds. So you could have like, the exploration achievements, raids, scenarios. So if you don't have a lot of time, you can always kind of like target what kind of reward you want to go after. Like if I want to go after this specific kind of reward, you can focus your efforts on that content. And since it's an accelerated experience, once you start to get enough like threads for your cloak, and you're pretty powered up, you'll be able to go in and do that content even faster than you would as like a normal character would.
Yeah, and make it all sense. And I was about to say that, let's be honest, we have a lot of cosmetic things and a lot of place to explore, mainly for the people that not had the chance to play Pandaria in that time, right? So of course, for example, if a veteran player would like to bring a new player and say, oh, I would like to play here and there and take a look on this. So yeah, for sure, we have a lot of place to visit, and that's awesome, and with a lot of rewards, right? Yeah, thank you for the answers. Another question that I have is that I'm also a Diablo player, and I have to say that in some cases, some points, I had the opportunity to play the PTR. So for me, WoW Remix Pandaria reminds me somehow about the seasonal server for Diablo. And one thing that I like to maybe share my thoughts, and maybe you guys can help me with the idea. There is a plan to keep doing this kind of stuff in WoW. I mean, for example, for me, from my point of view, make total sense to have a separate or split server to talk about season in retail, in Dragonflight or War Within, and so on. So there's plan to do that, or only for those specific actions like Plunderstorm, War Remix, and so on.
So it's interesting that for WoW Remix, you're actually going to be making your character on your normal server, or if you want to go to another server, you can. So, but if you're playing on Sargeras, if you're playing on Illidan, your Remix characters are actually on that realm. They're just going to be on like a different shard. So a way to think about it is, if you've ever gone into war mode and like you and someone else who are not in war mode can't see each other, like it's a similar kind of thing for WoW Remix. So that and that makes it so that like you can join the same guilds, you can talk in the same chats. You won't be able to party for time runners and not time runners, but like we really wanted to, like, even though we're containing the gameplay and like all the new crazy gameplay systems like the spell gems or the cloak of infinite potential, we wanted it to feel still connected to the rest of the WoW community. So when people are like deciding what server do I want to play on, like that is going to matter, because once the character conversion happens and all of those characters become standard characters, they're going to be on that server. So that's something for players to consider whenever they're deciding where do I want to make my character. Yeah, and as far as, again, I kind of alluded to this earlier, there aren't any like kind of specific plans, but again, we're listening to player feedback about like the things that they like and respond to.
Cool, awesome. And to be honest, I was not aware that we should create the character in the same server, and that makes total sense for me, and thank you for that, because that was one of the questions of my audience, and I was not able to answer that in that time. But yeah, and thank you so much for clarifying this. And talking about the community, what were your expectations for the community reaction regarding WoW Remix? So was met the expectation that you guys from dev team was planning? Was the kind of excitement that you guys was looking at, or no?
So whenever we do anything, we want players to like really love it, and like that's what we're trying to do. Speaking for me personally, seeing the response to the WoW Remix announcement and seeing the response to the PTR have been just like incredible.
Awesome.
It's like on all the different like social media for all the different like video creators. It's been really wonderful. Just seeing how positive the community has been, and like cannot wait for people to be able to jump in very soon and play with them, because the response has just been fantastic and really, really gratifying.
Cool, that's awesome, and I'm very glad to hear that, because if no one say that, I want to say it again. That's an amazing idea, and it's just an excuse to use that to say to you guys that you rock. So that's awesome. Thank you so much to do that. It's something that the community was asking for a long time, something different on the daily basis, playing WoW. So that's awesome, and thank you for doing that. Moving forward, so talking about the challenge that probably you guys faced, you talk about the cloak, gems, and so on. So what were the major challenges faced by the development team in recreating Mists of Pandaria expansion to adapt to the leveling, pacing, and all the other things that we know that Pandaria was created to have a specific pace, but talking about WoW Remix, we have a faster way to do that. So what were the challenges regarding this, and also to create the gems and so on?
Yeah, so for one, it's we're looking at Mists of Pandaria, the entire expansion, as well as all the patch content, and not only that, but then all of the rewards we've talked about, right? There's so many rewards and mounts and transmogs, and so fitting all of that content that was previously like a 2-year-long expansion into a patch cycle definitely took a lot of work and effort on a lot of members of the team. But it's been a really fun experience going back and getting to look at all of that content and reimagining it in this like new life.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and so some of the things that we just thought a lot about is okay, if the whole expansion is going to be available, how hard should things be? How long should like upgrading take, or how much bronze should each one of the rewards, like all the different types, like how long should it take? And so like, speaking specifically about the rewards, like we have the brand new art, which like the new stuff from the achievements, and that should be like, anyone who jumps in, plays for a couple weekends, and like should be able to get those things pretty easily. Then we have all the like unreleased variations of existing rewards, and those are also like, you can get way more than 5,000 bronze in like a couple hours at max level. So like you should be able to pick up those things pretty quickly. And then, if people are really having a lot of fun playing Remix, we also wanted there to be some like long-term chase items. And so that's where all the like, Tusks of Manaroth or the Heavenly Onyx Cloud Serpent, like that's why those are also available during WoW Remix, is so that like, hey, if you're having a lot of fun, then we're giving you like another way to get rewards that, you could go on your Dragonflight character and try to, get good luck, or here's another way to earn those things, and making sure that we were striking the right balance between like being really generous, because like we wanted players to get a bunch of these cool rewards, but also like, some people have been farming for these things for a really long time, and like
I'm one of the person.
Yeah, absolutely. So like just making sure like that we got that pricing right, and that players feel like, hey, like we value your time. We think this is like another cool way. And also like, hey, if you already have some of those rewards, you get to use your bronze somewhere else, right? Like, so we wanted to make sure to have like plenty of options for players, and to lean into that choice aspect.
Yeah, and you know what? Hearing you guys so exciting about it make us as player exciting as well. So if you guys are happy to do that, for sure, or in most of the time, the players will be happy as well. So it's very good to talk with you guys and feel this as a player after all. So thank you. Yeah, really. And talking about the duration of the WoW Remix, we noticed that's pretty long, right, compared to other events that we have. So, and please, if you can answer that, that's fine. But should be WoW Remix Pandaria a pre-patch of the pre-patch for the Warrior thing? Because looks like it.
So there's nothing to announce about the specific timing for War Within. Stay tuned. But for the duration of WoW Remix, we wanted players to have plenty of time to experience all the content, get all the rewards that they're excited to get, and then leave happy. Like, we don't want people feeling like, oh, I just wish that I could have. Like, we want players to have plenty of time, and that ethos went into content availability. It went into like the infinite scaling of the cloak of infinite potential, that you can keep getting stronger and stronger, into the fact that you have increased experience gains for your main character starts to 0, but very quickly they'll have like 50% and 100% increased experience gain, and your alts start at an even higher level. So like all of that stuff was designed and made with that kind of limited time in the back of our minds, because like we want players to have the full experience that they're excited to have.
Yeah, and that's awesome, because let me use very quickly Pandaria Storm as example. One of the feedbacks from the community that I'm work with, or even as a player, was that we have to rush, right? We don't have a lot of time, and take a look on the calendar and notice that for Pandaria you have more time. It's easier to us to focus in both of them. So for me, my personal view here, make total sense, and thank you for considering this as well. And go back and talking about the gem system, the cloak, and so on. We saw the first steps of that in Season of Discovery mode, right? It's something similar somehow, and it's incredible that this brings a lot of fun for us, because we're revisiting the same place and the same story, but with a different approach, and that's awesome. So my question is, the idea, the plans that you guys are doing, these little labs, if I can say like that, there are plans to use it to maybe test things new. When I say new, I say using the same wall that we know, but those events, like Event Pandaria, for example, inside the World of Warcraft, or you guys are working separate teams and each team is working different approach using the tools that you guys have right now?
Yeah, so the WoW team is all just like one big team. We get together, we have meetings, we talk, we share ideas, we give each other feedback. But all the different developers have, each have their own thing that they're focused on. but there's a lot of sharing ideas, a lot of sharing inspiration. And so, yeah, like Season of Discovery is really awesome. I know like I, as a player, have really enjoyed playing it. I didn't work on it personally, but definitely like sent feedback to other team members about it. And so when we were looking at like Season of Discovery runes, and we were looking at ways that we can add novelty to players' gameplay, that led us to the spell gem system. And where those are all like class specific things, we were like, okay, well, let's try something a little different. And that's why we ended up with our classic Gnostic spell gems. And depending on what class you are, you might decide like, okay, this combination of gems is better for me. Or, if you're a warrior and you're going to try to like throw out a whole bunch of heals through gems, you actually can. And like, there's
and
a lot of
awesome, right?
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you say so. Like, I'm really excited to see the combinations that players come up with that we haven't yet internally, and just like, well, what are the cool things that players do to experiment with this? And yeah, but it's like this is an experimental like mode, and with experiments, like you're seeing like, okay, well, like what's going to happen? Like, what are players going to respond to? And if players respond to things really positively, like all of the team are listening, we're reading, we're looking at the feedback to see like, okay, players really like this. Like, what else can we do?
That's cool. That's so cool.
And speaking on the gems too, there's like he was saying, there's a lot of fun, really cool combinations that you can come up with. Like personally, I play like a warlock, and so whenever I came across a new gem that did something fire, I was like, okay, cool, I want to do more fire stuff. But then I started seeing stuff that was like ice, and so I was like started doing a little bit of fire and ice. So I'm a warlock that's got some fire and ice in my build. So it's kind of like I feel like a warlock mage, and then you can add roll to that. So you're like, okay, well, I'm a little bit of everything right now. So it makes it a really fun experience when you can like mix and match the gems that you're playing around with, and make any kind of crazy unique build that you want to go with.
Yeah, I can imagine. And shame on you because I'm a paladin, so I'm sorry I don't like warlocks. Just kidding. But yeah, I imagine myself playing as paladin with fire, for example, and that's awesome because when I test on PTR, I play as monk, and probably you guys know that we have a lot of panda and monks, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Because I was talking with my audience, and we already have a group that we have only pandas and only monks because they have tanks, DPS, and healers. So for sure we have a lot of them. But yeah, that's awesome because again, we have new ways to play the same game that we love in a different approach, and this is awesome. That's amazing, and thank you again to do that for us. And one other thing that I have here is that we know how time walking in a geek culture, and WoW is not different. Chromie teaches that time is something very delicate, right? And my question is, can we expect something different in this Pandaria? I mean, because the quest started with the Browns teaching and leading us to this specific event. So can we face something new or different, or quests that should not be on Pandaria that we should solve, or something like that? Or is literally the same Pandaria that we play in the past?
Yeah, so there actually are some new quests. It's largely the same experience as Pandaria was, the same campaigns and chapters, but we've added a few things. Like when you first make a time runner, you'll go through the intro experience where you kind of like meet Eternus and you get the story of like the Dragonflight and why they're there. And then later on, when you finish the intro, there's also some quests to teach you dragon riding, as well as a daily quest like in the bazaar where all the infinite dragonflights hanging out. There are some daily quests that like will reward you for going to do a scenario every day, or some dungeon bosses. So there's a few like quests like that sprinkled throughout, but largely it's the Pandaria experience as it was.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah, we've done a little bit of exploring, following the events of 1017 with Eternus and Nozdormu and Chromie and the player all like, adventuring together. You got some different perspectives that, the Infinite Dragonflight contains individuals and they each have their own points of view. And like this is a little further exploration of Eternus's journey and her Infinite Dragonflight, and what do they think? And like we're excited to kind of dip in and explore that idea. There's also a lot of like really fun spawning at all the infinite bazaars in each one of the little zones. So definitely keep an eye out for like where is Eternus at each one of the bazaars. Just a fun little like can I find the dragon? But yeah, so it's a little exploration of that storyline, but
cool.
yeah, mostly Miss Pandaria.
Yeah, but have those Easter eggs is amazing, and for sure I'll be looking forward. And I promise that will be my last question because we're almost out of time. And you are talking about excitement and how you guys are looking forward for the community. And my question is to you, to you both actually, to understand better which was the thing that you most lovely in Remix Pandaria. What do you love to do, and what you're more excited to see the players testing or playing, and so on. And maybe this can be a different answer, right? Because you guys have different opinions, of course.
Yeah, I personally like achievement hunting. I like being able to like track what achievement I'm going after and just deciding like what I want to get, especially when it comes to getting like cool transmog appearances and mounts. So I'll probably focus on getting whatever transmog appearances I can and like go straight for the achievements that give me that, and the vendors that give me like whatever transmog appearances I can get.
Yeah,
I can blame you because I love it as well. We don't agree about the warlock, but we agree about transmog.
Yeah, and for me, like, very excited to jump in and play with the community on Thursday. Like, I'll absolutely be in there with everyone else. That's gonna be a blast. Probably my favorite thing to build. I mean, I love Miss Pandaria. I love the expansion, all of it. But making the spell gems for players to, like, use and come up with combinations that we haven't thought of. Like, really excited to see exactly like what's their favorite and what combinations they come up with. And there's a lot of really fun ones. Like, you could turn into Ciji and like have whole new buttons, and just other like big, cool, crazy effects. And so looking forward to players using those and just letting us know what they think.
Yeah, that's cool. That's awesome. And well, again, we have only 1 minute. I don't want to, delay you guys for the other things. And I want to say thank you so much because it's awesome to have this opportunity to talk who is development, doing testing, and so on. So thank you for your time. I'm sorry if I made any question, I don't know, uncomfortable. But
No,
yeah,
this is great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That was great.
It was a great time.